came from a corporate masculine dominated industry, Wall Street of all places. And I left that industry after hitting rock bottom in my personal life to study meditation in Asia, namely India, where I learned yogic meditation. I also learned Sanskrit so I could study from the sacred texts directly and practice this ancient practice, in its purest form, which I realized later after I stopped having my menstrual cycle, my reproductive health went out of whack. I realized later that this was never even created for women. So Patanjali, who was supposedly this enlightened being, never created this practice for women. Interesting, huh? Because women were expected to be caretakers and raise children, and they were treated as second-class citizens, as they still are today. So that's the reality of our meditation practices. When I came back from Asia after intensely studying different forms of meditation, from Buddhist meditation to Taoist meditation to yogic meditation, I came back and I had changed. I was a passive person. I became very passive, uh, almost what you could say docile. I felt like a blank cloud, just blank. I became very neutral and detached and in a way stoic. I never expressed my thoughts anymore because they were just egoic. I didn't assert myself. I didn't assert what I wanted in the world. I just accepted everything and went along with everything. And it was through this whole experience that I realized later, when I went to learn meditation on my own in nature and solitude, that I gave up my own power, through this practice. I sublimated my own power, my own sexuality. I was the one covering myself up now because I had been in India, and it's really unsafe to show your skin as a woman, uh, especially if you're traveling alone. It's very unsafe to show any part of your body. And so here I was, I had sublimated my own sensuality, my sexuality, my power, even my voice. I stopped speaking. I stopped expressing myself. And this was what it meant to be a good meditator. And what I later realized is that, just like religion or any organized uh, religion or practice, it's like we start to become indoctrinated unknowingly by these practices that resonate with us. They have a very strong resonance, but then we don't realize what we're really absorbing and what the expectations that we're trying to live up to. And when I was in Asia, there was always this constant theme of sameness. Everybody wore the same uniforms, the same thing, ate the same thing, did the same schedule every single day. It was very structured, and that's the masculine form, because all of these forms of meditations have been authored by men. All our world religions have been authored by men. So there is something wrong with this. It's not wrong that men have had a voice. What's wrong is that women have not had a voice or perspective or contribution into this practice. And it occurred to me today that women are closer to God in the sense that we give birth to life. We have the capacity to create life. This capacity to give birth, our choice to give birth, is so profound. It's such a powerful concept when you think about it. I mean, that's God. In the Bible, it says that Adam was first. I don't think so, right? Like, a woman gives birth to life. And because of this, and because women are now leading the spiritual evolution and really need to step into their power with it, that we need to understand, how close we are to this practice, how important it is that we learn how to have a voice and a contribution to this sacred practice. And also that there are things we can do, in a sense. What I felt I had to do, anyways, is reverse engineer what I learned in traditional meditation. It was important for me to reverse engineer all the idea of being a good girl, a self sacrificer. I had to put myself last, make myself humble, make myself invisible, make myself so small that I had no needs and I had no more desire. And I was totally disconnected to my sexuality, which is the fuel of our power, that passion, that drive. I gave that all up for the sake of spirituality. And I started realizing as I came back into the real world, like there are things that need to be, that could really benefit from being changed. But because I was so indoctrinated with this idea that I should have no ego, therefore no desire, and any change or anything that I want is just an expression of my ego. So, take that to like what's happening now with women's rights, women's reproductive rights, and just being, in that feeling of passivity. That isn't necessarily right action. And that's what I realized as I started developing more, going more into my practice, is that there's something deeper inside that we can tap into, a deeper power, our own voice, our own intuition, and that we can let go of the external forms of what we think meditation should be based on what was written over 5,000 years ago from a particular perspective. That for myself, liberation was like going and just kind of allowing myself to let go of all the traditions of meditation, that it was okay to really put that down and start all over again. So that's a little bit about my personal story and how I wanted to really understand this practice and deeply from the inside, and include the femininity, the feminine power, the softness, the nurturing, the self-love, and the self-care. That was a movement from forcing myself and beating myself up, berating myself, pushing myself. I actually pushed myself so hard in yoga trainings that I became exhausted and burnt out, and I hurt my body. I mean, this was the level of like pushing, and making myself submit, and trusting the guru or the external authority on these practices, bypassing my own body's wisdom, bypassing my own inner feeling that I just needed to rest, that all I needed was just to sleep and have some space to have my emotions and to be able to have emotional release. And so it was like unbinding myself, untaming myself from this very rigid, structured, disciplined, austere, uh, stoic type of practice. Because what I longed for was something that was softer and fluid and dynamic and graceful, really going with the flow, really tapping in the moment, instead of following the same structure over and over again, but being able to express uniquely and to channel, to tap in and channel information.